Good morning, and welcome to the Marketing That Grows Your Business show. I said good morning, but it could be good afternoon or good evening, where based on where you are in the world. So, regardless, good day. How about that? Good day to you. I hope you are having a wonderful day wherever you are. Monday. It's Monday. So, how's your Monday going? And as you're coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you this morning or this afternoon or evening? I have spent the weekend. For those of you who are regulars on the show, you probably know this, but I've been spending time in Virginia taking care of things here after my dad passed. So we've been doing the things. So if you are here, though, let me tell you about our special guest today, or more specifically, what we're going to be talking about before we bring him in and we dig into all of this. But way back, like when I very first started deciding I was going to take my business, probably even a little before that. Yeah, it was before that, before I really dug into the social media side of my business. I established a personal brand. I didn't know what a personal brand was, not really. I was like, I need to get a presence out there. All my previous businesses, incidentally, had been word of mouth businesses. I didn't need, even though they were online businesses, I never really had to have a web presence. Even though I'd built like literally hundreds of websites for other people, I never really had to have my own. So I'm like, okay, I'll just grab my name and away we go, right? So it's just kind of an interesting thing that was almost accidental in the context of I didn't understand what I was doing in the context of how important it would become. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is personal branding. What the heck is it? Do you need it? If you already have it, is it working for you? Is there things that ultimately you can do to make it more irresistible to your person? We're going to be digging into all of that stuff today. So we have an amazing guest today that I'm going to tell you more about in just a second. But again, as you guys are coming in, just let me know. We've got Tanya here. Good morning, Tanya. And I hope I say Tanya. Is it Tanya? It's like one of those. Which way does it go? We also have Paul in the house. Paul, always glad to see you. New York in the house. Glad to see you guys. So glad you're here. Also, if you know someone that would get value from today's topic, please, like tag them down under, sprinkle it out into the world, and we'll get as many folks as we can in here to get the know-how, to get the knowledge. On all the shows, we do giveaways. Today's no different. And today, because we're talking about personal branding, I thought, well, it would be perfect if I just gave away. I have a mini course on, yes, you got it, how to build a strong personal brand. So two winners today is going to be the recipient of the how to build a strong personal brand. How do you win? Well, we got three core ways to win. One, share your aha moments in the comments. Now, an aha moment is, when you have that moment of, I didn't know that. I'm really good at the aha. That's hashtag aha. Put that down in the area down under. Use the hashtag aha, because that's how we enter you into the Wheel of Wow, where we draw the winner at the end of today's show. Okay. Actually, winners. Because I got giving away two of those mini courses. Tag someone or sprinkle it out. That's another way that we add you to the Wheel of Wow. And then ask questions. We love them, and we will try to answer as many of them as we possibly can. Show notes so that you don't have to stress over taking notes. We'll make sure you have those, but you got to tell us if you want them, okay? We don't just randomly send them to you. And unfortunately, if you are on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter, we'll drop a link in for you, and you have to come back over to Facebook. Sorry, Facebook's the only way that we can send out those automated messages. But if you want them, drop in notes in the comment area, and we'll get those out to you. Give us a couple, usually takes us 24 hours or so, but we'll get them to you. So let's see. Yep, see a couple of people. We got Mark in the house. Great to see you, Mark. Karen, so glad you're here. Excellent. Chuck, awesome. Allison's here. Excellent. I'm so glad you guys are here. Let's see. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about our special guest. So I met our special guest at Social Media Day Llama a few months back. And have you ever like just met somebody and you just have an instant connection? It's like, I like this person. I mean, sometimes you meet people and you're like, well, that person's nice, but sometimes you meet people and there's just like, I really like this person. Well, that was the way it was with us. I say us because it was both of myself and Rhonda were at this event, and we both had the exact same like this guy is amazing. We like him. So anyway, just letting you know, he's amazing. I think you guys are going to like him as well. When we realized what his area of expertise was, we're like, we have got to have him come on the show because we've never talked about this before. And I would say if I had to put my finger on one thing that's been super impactful across my entire business structure, when I came out public and started building authority, if you will, it's been my personal brand. It has been super, super powerful. And so I'm excited to have Phil here with us today. So let me tell you a little bit about this young man. He is a personal branding expert and a keynote speaker that has a non-conventional approach to digital marketing. As a brand strategist, Phil has advised hundreds of brands from over 30 countries, including a shark on Shark Tank. Yeah. A Nobel Peace Prize winner. Wow, right? Politicians and some of the most important names in entertainment. So you guys, please, please, please put your hands together for Phil. Hey, Phil.
Hey. Yay. Oh, my God. We have applause. I love this. I can't think of a better way to start my Monday with you. Rhonda, I know, is also somewhere behind the scenes, so I'm giving her a shout out too. You two are some of my, literally, meeting you guys has got to be one of the highlights of my year. We had such a good time, and we will keep having good times.
Yes, yes. So this is the kind of friend that Phil was immediately. So we share drink pictures, like we share travel pictures. Yeah. Like it's been like I'll get a random text and he's on the beach in Mexico somewhere, or I have to admit I'm a little jealous of all of his adventures. He has better drink pictures than me, y'all. Oh, but no, he's amazing. So, Phil, I think sometimes people think that, well, we just get started and, what is your backstory? I mean, I've asked you, but I'd love you to share a little bit about how you got started, and up to where you are today and what you're super passionate about.
Sure. I'll give you the super, super short version of it because it is a longer story, but I'm actually Canadian. You and I both have the Florida connection, so I'm in Orlando now, but originally from Canada, moved to the US about a decade ago, studied my master's in entertainment business down here in Orlando. 3 months before I was set to graduate, I entered a lot of opportunities to try and find an internship working in entertainment or, social media, still relatively new back then. Long story short, I entered to become Charlie Sheen's social media intern at the peak of his craziness in the media. And out of 90,000 people, I made it to the top 50 of this competition. I was effectively my first client. So building my personal brand to try and get attention and build excitement around this opportunity to become Charlie Sheen's social media intern. Through that, I got an opportunity to intern for Ryan Seacrest, which was actually my dream, Kim. And 1 week before I was set to move out to LA, I got radio stations and TV, especially in Canada, right? Canadians get excited when other Canadians are successful. They said, Phil, what are you doing? What's happening? And I said, I'm moving to LA to work for Ryan Seacrest. And it created some more press, and I got fired before I even started. Before I even started the job, I don't even know if you know this story, but I'm sharing it. Before I even started the job, I had generated too much press. Ryan Seacrest was like, "Who is this kid, 22, that's generated so much press, and he's not even working for us yet?" So essentially, I moved out to LA. I had no internship. I had no friends, no family out there. And I thought, okay, I need to build something, right? Put my resume into some agencies, didn't get a job. I thought, I better build something that's going to grab the attention of someone that is willing to hire me. So I kind of know how to design a logo. I can figure out how to design a website. My first handful of clients were personal brands. And that is how it started. And that is all I have ever done for a decade. That's the story. Now you know it.
That, oh, I did not know the Ryan Seacrest story. Wow.
I know. I know. It was crazy. It was
Wow.
a wild
It,
time. But like
I'm
just a,
just curious.
yeah.
Like, what did that feel like? Like, you'd made all these decisions based around what one would say, especially at that point in your life, was this is a huge opportunity. This isn't just like, hey, I'm going to work for this top brand. This is a name. Like, Ryan Seacrest, like everybody knows that. And it was a big dream for you. So, like, to lose that and then still step forward.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's powerful.
Yes, I can. I can. It was really tough to be rejected when I thought I was doing everything right. That was the toughest thing, was feeling like I failed at the very beginning of my career, even though I thought everything I was doing was the right thing to be doing. But I think in this case, it was a double-edged sword. I mean, the press that I generated and the buzz and the social media, it helped me land my first few clients, right? Because I had proof of concept. And sure, the path wasn't exactly how I thought it was going to be, right? I didn't land in that dream opportunity to start with, but certainly working past that and thinking this is a marathon, not a sprint. I'm not just worried about the first mile, but let's think long game here. That I had no choice. I mean, that's what I had to do. That's how it started. And I thought, okay, this is really tough, but maybe 1 year from now, I'll laugh about this. And I did.
Well, I was just going to say something, and I want you to hear it, but I also because I want you to understand that that's not normal. Okay. I think a lot of times when people um, face what one would say, hey, is a catastrophic like setback,
Mm-hmm.
here you had planned to move to LA. It would have been just as easy for you to say, I'm going to stay here in Canada where I'm comfortable. I have my friends, my community, my family is here, and yet you did not. So I want to pat you on the back in a huge way because you stepped out into something that was seriously scary, unknown, and you made it work, my friend. That is,
Yeah.
a lot of people would have made a different decision. And so I just want to like say that is a huge, huge thing. And it set you on a course that has been amazing. I always tell my boys, I'm like, get on the road. You never know where it's
Yeah.
going. It probably won't go where you think it's going to go, but
It won't.
if you don't get on the road, so well, let's talk about branding. What is branding? I feel like branding is one of those things that's super misunderstood. And a lot of times I think people think it's like colors,
Yeah.
and so talk a little bit about what branding is.
Sure, I'd love to, because I agree. This concept is confusing. Industry experts define this term in all different ways, right? Jeff Bezos says it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. Sheryl Sandberg says, I don't have a brand, but I do have a voice, almost insinuating that this idea of a personal brand is tarnished or kind of dirty nowadays. Gary Vee says it's key to monetizing your brand online. Honestly, I'd probably merge all of those definitions together, but keep it straightforward. Building a brand is the art of achieving consistency between the in-person experience and the online version of yourself. So all we need to worry about is taking inventory of what makes you great in real life. What makes you great? What makes you memorable? What is it people love about you? And how can we recreate that experience online? Because in 2022, we juggle two versions of ourselves. The in-person experience, Kim, which you highlighted at the beginning of this, we had the distinct privilege of being together in real life earlier this year. And isn't that a privilege nowadays, especially after the few years we've all endured? We won't take that for granted now. Nowadays, we're juggling two versions of ourselves, that in-person experience and the online version of ourselves, which is, quite frankly, really exciting. Here you and I are sitting together almost as if we're together having coffee and letting other people in on the conversation. The internet and technology gives us this ability. I hope that in all the ways I show up, I know in the ways that you show up because I've met you in real life and I've consumed your online brand for almost as long as I've had my career, Kim. You were one of the first people I followed and started to learn from as I knew that this was a career I was going to build in this industry. Branding is not more complicated than that. Achieving consistency between the in-person experience and the online version of yourself. Not more complicated than that.
I just want to say I have never heard it explained like that. And that is amazing. To your point, everybody says, oh, well, it's this or it's that. And one thing, as you were saying that, I was like, the thing that I get most frequently when I meet people in person is they're like, it's almost like they're surprised, but they'll be like, wow, one, you either look exactly like you do, like I thought you would, like, instead of like putting up a picture of yourself on LinkedIn that's, 30 years old or whatever, you look like you do, and the other thing is you're just exactly like you are online. So that's that. It's, well, in my defense, it's not like I tried to do this. I tried to marry. This was all just like my secret sauce is I'm just who I am. It's just like I'm just, whether you call it authentic or whatever. But I never really thought about it in that context until you said it's like, if you have consistency in who you are in real life and who you are in the online world, oh my gosh, it's a perfect marriage. And then you can show up and be authentic. I love that. That's so good.
Well, I have an analogy that I think you're going to like. I think in the business world and in branding, it's exactly the same as dating, right? Nowadays, dating apps are really popular. If you consume someone's online brand, right, their bio, their photo, their interests, and you think, okay, this person seems like they'll be compatible with me. Let's have a shot at meeting them in real life. And that person is nothing like they portrayed themselves online. That is never a positive experience. And yet, when you consume someone's brand online and then you meet them in real life and you go, and I had this experience with you, Kim, you go, wow, this person is just as nice as I had hoped they would be, down to earth, wonderful, lovely, bubbly. That's the brand I consumed online. That's consistent with the real world experience. I would go so far as to say that is literally your secret weapon in achieving success online or achieving success as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I've always said that, having taught live video in particular for years now, I always felt like that the people that really were successful with it were the ones who were able to translate their real personality into the experience and how they show up. So yeah, I love that. So question though, we talked about, I think that's superpower. I love your definition of it. Okay. So should everyone have a personal brand or who should have one?
Who has one? I don't know. I think in 2022, everyone has one, whether you want it or not. I think your job could be selling insurance. And I would say if someone is typing your name into Google, well, you have a personal brand. People are trying to get some information on you. If you have unless you live in the rainforest, secluded from everyone else, I think you have a personal brand. I think you face the reality that there are two versions of yourself, the in-person experience and the online version. A few weeks ago, I was in, where was I? I was in Columbus, and there was a handyman who had, I think he used his computer to check his emails. That's probably it. And there he was. I was with Adobe Express at a Meta event in Columbus, beginning of August, and there was a handyman talking to us about creating a logo, deciding on the name of his business, and for the first time building a presence online. And that reaffirms to me your job could be selling insurance. And guess what? You are probably keen and interested on figuring out how you can show up online in a way that's going to help you in your business. I don't think anyone's exempt from it. There might be a few rare exceptions, but I think everyone is really grappling with this idea of how do I show up not just as a business or hiding behind my business name, but even me as a human, becoming a humanizing element or a humanizing agent of a brand. People connect with people. Technology will constantly evolve. It will constantly change. But the thing that will never change is the human element, the way that humans connect and interact. And that's really exciting because there are ways that we can master that online.
Yes, 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 yes. So having done this, I said, accidental personal brand, and it's just been one of the most powerful things, I think, in my experience so far. Even when a few years back, I had a business partner, and we created a business, brand. But I found that my personal brand was still way more powerful than the business brand. People would still do business, but they did business with the business brand because I was the face of the business.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of a fascinating dynamic. And, I see a lot of people who have a business, but they'll also sideline it with their own personal brand. And then I know a lot of people who have a business and no personal brand. But to your point, I absolutely agree. I think that we all should have some sort of a presence that showcases, because people are Googling us, they're looking for us, and we've been doing a lot of this discussion around the whole authority creator in the context of, people are so wrapped up in social, but guess what? When people connect with you on social media, they go to check you out where? On the Google machine, or they follow a link, they go to your website. They're looking to connect with you. And does the place they land, does it tell them, from an authentic perspective, how you matter to them? It's super powerful. So why do you think the whole idea of personal branding is a little bit messy and confusing? I would say it's because they haven't had you to explain it, but seriously, I agree with that. But why is it that so many people don't take that step?
Yeah, they don't take that step because they might think they're exempt from it. They might think this doesn't apply to me, but I actually think that comes from a place of either confusion or fear. And so hopefully after spending a few minutes with us today live, people will no longer have that fear, or certainly not that confusion, I would say. So if I was to explain this in a way that frames how to approach it, I would say every person is made up of two elements: content, what you say; personality, that's your secret weapon. That's the unique way that you and only you deliver that information. I can get content anywhere. Content is an unlimited resource online, right? And so this idea that actually it's not just content and it's not just personality on its own, it's a ratio, I sometimes describe it, two elements that are working together that make the experience of you unique and exciting and compelling. I think those two elements working together, are the factors that help someone decide, okay, I'm going to click follow, I'm going to click subscribe, I'm going to bring this person into my life, and give them the most valuable commodity that exists nowadays, which is time, people's attention. So to answer your question, Kim, I think personal branding rather has become muddied. I think it's become confused with self-promotion. And I don't think they're the same thing. On a weekly basis, I help clients that will sometimes I'll advise them, hey, I think you should show up on this platform and maybe try some of these strategies, embrace social media if that fits with the brand, but not always. Last week I gave advice to someone to get off social media. It really just depends. But personal branding is not the same as self-promotion. Okay. Showing up and posting a selfie is not something you do because you're obsessed with how you look and you want the attention. Again, let's come back to our root definition. Personal branding is achieving consistency between the in-person experience and the online version. A quick little selfie or a quick little photo of you as an Instagram story or a Facebook story, right? I mean, this is the little soldier you're sending out to the internet that replaces that interaction that I would love to have with you in real life. You and I are sitting together having coffee in real life. I listen to what you say, content. I listen and I remember, more importantly, how you say it. That's your personality. And so it's not about self-promotion. It's about showing up online and achieving that consistency. I will always bring it back to that definition.
So good, so good. Someone said a moment ago, I think it was Allison. She's like, I love the way Phil is framing this whole topic.
I'm glad.
And I'm going to 100% agree. So obviously, I have listened to, talked to, heard people talk about this personal branding stuff. I've taught personal branding myself. I've never heard it framed like Phil is presenting it. So I'm just saying, I'm super, super like, that is so good. That is so good. The way he's positioning it. So I love it. So question, are there, I mean, I know there's a bunch of pros to having and feel free, like, what are those pros to having, let's do that like this. What are the pros to having your own personal brand? And it's not necessarily in the context of, hey, what are the pros of having a personal brand versus a regular brand? Although you can make that comparison if you want to, but I want to put the pros out there because I want to see if there are any cons in a minute.
Yeah, sure. By the way, do you like my bright accessory? I thought, oh my God, I'm going on Kim's show. I need some bright accessories, which I don't have many. And this is the brightest thing I found in my house. So I brought it to the party.
So, well, I
like
have my
There you
little,
go.
watermelon lime can this morning. So
There you go. That's good. We'll count that. But your glasses, come on. That's your
yeah,
brand,
the glasses
Kim.
are good,
Yeah,
right?
you've got bright accessories. So, okay, so we'll talk about pros. Let's talk about pros for a few minutes. So I have a lot of clients that'll come to me and say, hey, Phil, this is the name of my business. This is what I write on my contracts or at the bottom of my invoices. This is how I do business. And some people just jump to the conclusion that that's actually how they should position their brand online. Sometimes it makes sense to brand as a business. A lot of times it makes sense to brand as an individual. Not always, but I would always root, decisions back to what are your business goals? Would do you see yourself selling your company in the future? Could you sell it as a name? Potentially you can. There are brands out there, personal brands that have been sold and scaled, fashion, perfumes, etc. There are lots of examples in that case. Or, is your business more of a lifestyle? For me, I am the prime example of someone that has a business that is a lifestyle. I'm not interested in growing and scaling and having 100 people work for me and then maybe eventually selling my company. For me, I love my job. I love working directly with my clients. Maybe one day I'll retire. I don't anticipate it, but I love the work I do and I find it super satisfying. And so I have a personal brand. Here's the pro. Investing in a personal brand is something that will never go away. It's one of the smartest investments you can make because it is your name, it is your brand, it is your likeness. You have it until the day you pass. And so we got a lot of time, to make this investment, time, resources into something that you will have for your entire life. I don't know that there's anything else in this world that will stay with you, that will live with you from now, until the end. I think it's just, I guess it's a bit cryptic in a way, but I've never framed it that way. But I think it's a really smart investment because it's something you have forever. And I think, it's not a matter of, either choosing one or the other. Sometimes, as you said, Kim, a personal brand can coexist with a company brand. Sometimes you can have both. Sometimes you can interweave them in a beautiful way. I would say really think about if people are typing your name into Google or if people are connecting with you, if you're a humanizing element of a company, I think you already have a personal brand.
Yeah, I do too. And to your point, you said it before. I think we all have a personal brand already, whether we have a URL that goes with it or not.
Hmm.
It's everybody has a unique something that's unique that and how they show up, and there is, and if you're going back to it, and how do you marry that with your online presence, which was the way Phil framed it. It's like, that is so beautiful. I love that. So we've talked about the pros, meaning, it's with you forever. I mean, it's an extension of you. It's like your name, right? It's like we'll always have our name, and until, and even afterwards, it's on the headstone, right? Like
Yeah.
it's always our name. The personal brand is like that, So, question though, I've really only found personally that there is one con to a personal brand. So what do you think? Are there any cons? And if you, what do you feel that those cons are?
Sure. I touched on it a second ago. The only con that I'm aware of, and I might learn something new from you, Kim, the only con that I'm really aware of that I've seen in action in my time working as a brand strategist would be exactly what I alluded to a second ago. It's harder to sell. A brand that has your name plastered all over it. If I wanted to sell Phil Pallen Collective, I still might be able to. And there are examples out there where people's personal brands have been sold, scaled and sold. But I think depending on your goals, like if you're, for example, building a company that you want to scale, you want to grow it, and then it's something you eventually want to sell, personal branding might not be the right route for you. That's definitely one where you might think about coming up with a different name or a different brand so that it's more appealing to a buyer. That would be one of the rare situations that I would encourage someone not to invest in a personal brand, but instead go more the business route.
Yeah, that has been you said it exactly. I feel like that's really the only con, is
Yeah.
if, from an exit strategy perspective, you want to sell. So just share my quick story. When we were getting ready to sell Boom Social, or thought we were doing the kind of the leg work to see if it was going to make sense to sell it. The drawback really was they wanted me for 2 years, so I would have
Yeah.
had to have
Of course they
stopped.
did. If I were them,
Yeah,
I'd want you too.
yeah, yeah. In order, they would have bought it, and having, and it was, good money. It would have been a good exit financially, but would have had to have basically worked for them for 2 years. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. So that kind of put a XA Nixay on, on the deal out the gate. But I feel like that but that said, let me say this real quick. We had a coexisting brands, meaning, we had a brand for the business, and then we had my personal brand. And interestingly enough, even though we did have, I'm not sure they would have been as hot on for the deal if we hadn't have had the business brand and the personal brand. The thing that was the defining, the reason that they knew though that most people did business with the business brand because of the personal brand. So
Yeah.
that's an example of where the two can coexist, but they can, in my case, it kind of bit me in the behind a little bit too. So,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things just to be aware of as you go into this. I think sometimes you don't know what you don't know when you get started, and then, oh my gosh, I've got this problem now.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the key components of branding are?
Yeah, I would love to answer that. I'll go through maybe what some of the steps are that I follow that have worked for me. I've worked with over 332 clients in 11 years in 32 countries. But who's counting, Kim? Me, I'm counting. I'll go through some of the steps. And I would say right off the bat, though, in response to what you just said, we can sometimes get a little focused or overwhelmed or distracted by the shiny objects like, ooh, which social media platform should I be on and what should I be posting and should I be doing reels and blah, blah, blah. Every decision you make in business should be something based on your business goals. So brand building for me is an exercise in getting clarity on your business goals and really manifesting not just who you are today, but where you want to go, who you want to become 1 year, 2 years, 5 years from now. For me, branding is really the only way that you can actually create that path. And I'll go through the steps in a second, but I wanted to start off saying that nothing is more important than having clarity on your business goals. I can't do anything as a brand strategist unless I'm crystal clear on what it is you want to achieve. What does success look like to you? Where are we going with this? Maybe you can't tell me your brand in a sentence. Okay, that's fine. If you can't tell me your brand in a sentence, then let me ask you this. If you won the lottery today, what is it you would do with your time tomorrow? And maybe people should this is a live show, put your answers in the chat. If you won the lottery today, what is it you would do with your time tomorrow? And Kim, the answers to this question show me what's really important to people. And I would say in response to whatever you have, whatever your answer is to that, figure out how to incorporate that into your brand. Travel's very important to me. If I won the lottery, I would travel the world. You already mentioned it, connected to me, that I travel a lot. It really has nothing to do with branding, but I made it have something to do with what I do. Speaking, giving keynotes has given me the opportunity to travel to 5 continents. Travel has become a part of the experience of my brand and consuming me and something people remember about me. So let's quickly go through what those steps are. I approach branding in 3 steps. Position your brand, okay? That's looking at really a simple formula. What is something you love to do paired with something others need and are willing to spend money on? That's a formula for a successful brand positioning. Second stage, build. So in the build component of branding, we would look at photography, brand identity, more than just a logo. We're talking color, typography, how your brand looks, web and print, typically more than just one logo. We would have multiple logo lockups. Maybe you're putting your logo behind your desk for when you're doing Zooms or Skypes or interviews. Maybe you're crazy like me and you actually get your logo tattooed onto your wrist. I mean, that's a bit extra, but I have had clients that have done it. Actually, it was 2 clients that did it that inspired me to do it. So again, in review of the build, photography, brand identity, logo, color, typography, web and print, and your website. And I would say social media profiles are almost like little mini websites, right? That people land on, consume you, and get a flavor of you. So that's the build. The final stage is promote. When you stick a for sale sign out front of that house and you take this house to market. This is social media, content strategy, SEO, could be more traditional form. It could be advertising or press placement. Really anything that you do to drive attention and traffic to whatever it is you've built. It's a little bit like real estate. You figure out where that plot of land is going to go, the positioning. You build something to show for it. You build the house and you probably stage it to then take to market. You stick a for sale sign in front of that house. And I would say, Kim, the biggest mistake people make is they jump to that final stage, stick a for sale sign in front of that house before it has a roof, and you're only going to get a fraction of the value you deserve. So I spend a lot of time in the positioning and the build.
I was typing, so I turned my mic off. I want to say
go.
thank you so much for saying that, because I'm constantly saying that a lot of websites out there, well, one, I use a business analogy, a traditional, like a brick and mortar business. Like if you go somewhere and let's just say you're going to dinner and somebody said, hey, this is going to be a great place. We went there. It's amazing. Go check it out. You go and you pull up and it's like super seedy. It's like, it looks horrible. It's like a dive. It's like you are reluctant to open the car doors and get out and go in, right? Versus you pull up to this fancy smancy place, the place is packed. There's, somebody waiting to park your car, like all the bells and whistles, like you have no hesitation of getting out and doing business with that person. So what does your website look seedy? Or does it look like the business that you would want to walk into. And, I think that, even just the messaging, is super powerful these days. To your point, it's not about us anymore. Even personal brands are not about us
Mm-mm.
anymore. They're really about how do we help the person that we're there to serve, So I just love that you said that like that. So, question though, this is an interesting one. How in the world do you make an irresistible brand versus all the other, you said it, time and attention is what we're competing for today. So with that in mind, what makes an irresistible brand?
Well, let's give the people what they want. I mean, this is the title of our session today, Kim. So I got to give a good answer to this question, or else I'm going to be in trouble. Um, so when we look at the build, we kind of talked about this, but I would say the creation of something irresistible is really not in that final stage, and that's a big misconception. It's not about how you create a reel or how you show up on social media. That's a component to it. But for that to be successful, we need to revisit the earlier stages of brand building, which is positioning. I think you need a strong positioning, but I think you need a really good build. And ideally, you invest time and resources into the build of something that you can have for years, right? And it builds that brand, that it builds on itself. Your effort in showing up consistently will reward, it'll come back. And I think it's really important. If I had to choose, but I'm going to give a good answer to this. If I had to choose the most important component of brand building when it comes to creating something irresistible, I'm not going to choose a logo. I think if you're a business that's just starting out, I actually don't think you need a logo right away. I'd rather you put your business name or your own name in a great font for now and earn it. Set a certain financial goal, certain sales, or a certain milestone, and then you invest in taking that to phase 2. I'm assuming you start at phase 1, right? Set some goals. I think that's not the most important thing. Photography. Photography is the most important component of brand building. Someone said it on the phone on Friday. Someone had said, Phil, you don't know me, but I've been looking at your website, at all the examples of the work you've done, and I have to say it's so amazing. But the photography is what really stands out in the brands you build. And it's true. And here's the little tip that I give my clients as they are building their brands with strong photography. It's not about showing up like a real estate agent on a park bench, call me if you need blah, blah, blah. That's so lame. That is so not something that works in 2022. Instead of photographing yourself or working with a photographer to get brand photography that looks cheeseball like that, think instead about you. Let's say you're going to be featured in Vogue magazine. They wouldn't photograph you in a boring, sterile environment. They would capture you in your element to tell your story. So we might see you at your desk, and we might see, we might see you working, or we might see you looking off to the edge and laughing and thinking and seeing you in your environment. Where is it you go to bring yourself joy or happiness? What is that place or that environment that you absolutely love? That's probably where you should be photographed. That's where there's opportunities for storytelling. I think all too often people either exclude photography or they go and get basic headshots, which are not enough in 2022. It tells us nothing about you. Bad brand photography is like showing up in real life to a wedding in pajamas. It's just not acceptable. It's not enough nowadays. You need to have great photography. It's basically the online version of you putting your best foot forward like you would in real life with what you wear and makeup and however you show up in real life, however you do you, the online version of that is photography. That is how we are consuming you. So for me, to create an irresistible brand, strong photography is how you do it.
So I've just been sitting over here giggling a little bit because I'm like, oh my gosh, say it. So, when a lot of times, and I've done this, I've fallen into this trap where, okay, photography, I got it. And when they're all, I'll call them fake settings essentially, like, right? So they're not representative really of, how you would show up. Lots of times, you're wearing clothes you would never wear, like on any given day, y'all. So seriously, so on any given day, I'm in a t-shirt and
Me
yoga
too.
pants and my fuzzy house shoes, or like something, fuzzy socks because my feet get cold. But the point is that, like, and this is something I had to learn, is like, what, don't take pictures and stuff you wouldn't wear, that you don't plan on wearing after the photo shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
Being real, and staying congruent with like settings that make sense for who you are. Because keep in mind what Phil said. He's like, translating the real you, taking that translation and putting it into an online opportunity. So I've been to websites where I see these women in particular. I'll just give you I don't know who it was at the time, but this person was in a formal wear. Like, she had all of the photos on her website where I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself immediately, I mean, she looked beautiful. The photos were great. But my thought was, does she show up like that? Like, she just felt so unapproachable, because the only place I would see her in life is if I went to a formal. Like, that
Hmm.
immediately put me back into my military days, when we'd go to the balls. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so I just love that you said it like that, because I think that really showing up and taking the right photos, that translate who you are in the real world, into your online presence, makes so much more sense. Um, so I know you have probably 1,001 success stories, but I'm just curious, do you have a success story or two that you want to share, from somebody who didn't have such a great online presence, to, you know, uh, you've worked with them and it made such a big difference in how they attracted their client to them?
Oh yeah. Oh, I have a bunch, but I'm gonna try and pick one, or I'll try and pick a handful that are on my website. So if people are curious and they go, "Who is this person he's talking about?" You actually want to go and see their brand. Um, I take a great amount of pride in having a pretty large portfolio on my website. I think I spent about 300 hours last year, and my team, creating more or less case studies, that really show how we did what we did, not before and afters, but more so this is the final result. And these are all the layers to the personal brand that we've built. So the first story that comes to mind, Kim, would be under my coaches and consultants category on my website. And I had a client named Kate Payne. And it wasn't a matter of her having a bad online presence. She had no online presence, zero. She had worked solely based on referral and word of mouth for her entire career. She knew, and not social media, she's still not really on social media, but she knew she needed a presence online so that people could find her, or people that were interested in hiring her could go somewhere to get a sense of what she was all about and also what made her unique. So Kate Payne was one of my, like, just awesome clients that trusted. Not only was she trusting through the process, but she was like so nice. Just, I love nice people. This is why I hit it off with you and Rhonda in about 30 seconds, because I'm also a magnet to nice people. I want to just live my life having nice people in it. And Kate is one of those. And Kate emailed me probably 3 to 6 months after flipping her website live. She emailed Lauren, my colleague, and I, and said, guys, my business in the matter of 6 months has skyrocketed, and the only logical explanation is my website. And keep in mind, a website is the output of the exercise of branding. So, and a website's not just a website in my eyes. Almost the exercise of creating a website is more important than the output, than the actual product of a website, right? We're incorporating the brand photography that we've gathered. We're incorporating messaging, which I know you talk often about, Kim, and it's a huge thing for you, the importance of messaging, and I couldn't agree more. A website's really the first instance where all of these layers come together: messaging, brand photography, content. Even the way that your services are organized on your website shows the thought that has gone into figuring out, how do I want to grow my business, or how do I want to position it for, according to my business goals. So I get really excited when clients invest time and resources into something, and then they see a positive ROI, or they see a positive result. That is very common in our industry, even though it's somewhat subjective, right? This idea of like investing in some of these creative elements like branding or photography. I can't necessarily guarantee an ROI on that in a certain time span, but I mean, you can see our website. We have a ton of testimonials, clients that have said, wow, this really was worth it because I feel like I'm putting my best foot forward online. So she's the example I thought of, and I've got a whole bunch on there on all of my case studies. Almost all of them, it ends with a testimonial from that client, and I try to
Yeah.
keep them all different because
I
everyone's
love
experience is different.
it. Yeah. Well, you're building your home. I mean, it's a place you own.
Yeah,
So, don't put up a lean-to.
yeah,
You know, a
yeah.
good rain and it's going to wash you away. So, well, so guys, I know we've gotten so much amazing feedback today. We're going to announce the winners in just in a minute. But while we're doing that, right before we announce the winners, Phil, tell people where they can connect with you. I know you just mentioned your website, but what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Sure. I, like you, love resources and tools and tips for people. So I'm very proud of a certain section on my website, which is philpallen.co/freebies. On this page, I have over 10 free resources that I have personally created and designed myself. Some of them are one-page worksheets. I have a brand positioning worksheet on there with 6 questions that will help you get total clarity on who your audience is. I have an ebook on there with 100 free evergreen content ideas, brand archetypes, an Instagram growth checklist. That's the newest one. I have 100 words to describe your brand. There's so many resources on this page that you can go and get for free. I mean, literally, you just sign up for it. You opt in with an email and you can download it. Very, very proud of those. I create lots of content on YouTube, youtube.com/philpallen. I post typically 2 videos a week. Starting in September, I'm back to 2 a week. August, I had my tonsils out earlier this month, which has been a bit of a nightmare, and why I'm using this great big water container. So this month I only posted 1 a week. But YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, I would say those are my Pinterest, those are my priority platforms. And certainly I think over there you'll get some resources on my freebies page. Very proud of those.
Awesome. Well, you guys, I hope I have been blessed so much by just having you on the show today. I was like, I've never heard it explained like that. So I'm super excited that you joined us and shared your amazing sauce with us. Our winners today are Sue and Vanessa. So go over to kimgross.com/winner. Give us your details. We'll get you a login set up right away, guys, and get it out to you. So you guys put your hands together one more time. We're going to do the applause again.
I love the applause.
For
I
all
love the applause.
the amazing sauce that I just feel, I don't know, I just always feel so blessed to have the guests come and share their awesomeness with us. So thank you guys for all of you who watched on person. Maybe you're listening later on the replay or watching or listening. There, I said it right that time. But thank you so much for your time and your attention. We know that that's the most valuable thing you have. And hopefully we've shown up and gave you some value today. So have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week. Stay safe and God bless. Talk soon.
Thank you, Kim.